Today we're talking about the rifle, the setup, and the rifle setup. Hey guys, my name is Dave Tim. Thank you very much for checking out this video. If you recall from the last months of the QA that we are doing, we got a question from a viewer. I believe his name was Garrett. I apologize, I don't have the list with me, but he had a question about setting up a rifle for patrol use. I think he was a reserve police officer, if memory serves, and he was going to buy his own patrol rifle and had questions on how to set it up. And I kind of answered it really short, but I promised that we would do its own briefing room episode because I thought the topic was a really good topic, and I think other people would be interested in it as well. So I brought two rifles, both of which have actually been on duty with me in a patrol capacity. And we're going to talk about the setup of each, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons, as well as the old saying of the mission drives the gear. So let's get right to it. First things first, start with a quality rifle. I don't care, I don't get too tied up into certain brands. However, there are definitely brands to avoid. I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to trash other brands. I try to be a gentleman content creator, but truth be told, there is quality and there is not quality. So get a rifle from a quality manufacturer that is reliable, it's accurate, it's dependable, and there's tons of research and articles on what to look for in a rifle, what to stay away from in a rifle, good brands, bad brands, things like that. So start with a quality rifle. And as far as what that is, well, it kind of depends on your budget. It could be a mid-length gas system, it could just be a standard carbine with a fixed front sight post, which is just fine. You could have basic furniture, you could have some upgraded furniture. We're going to kind of go through these rifles kind of soup to nuts overview real quick to kind of give you some background of why I decided to configure these rifles the way that I did. So let's start with a red dot rifle. We're going to set this one aside, and of course we verified that all these firearms are unloaded and there's no ammunition for the internet range safety officers out there. So this is kind of a simple setup. Like I said in that episode, there are three things that a rifle needs to have before it is road ready. And if it has all of those things, it can go. If it has none of those things, it can't, or only one or two or whatever. Or if it's missing just one or two, it can't. So those three things, number one is a sling. Now I've omitted the sling from this video because that is a whole nother episode itself as far as preferences, brands, types. But in general, I prefer a padded 2-point sling, and there are a few different quality makers out there, but you need to have a sling. So on this particular rifle, I have a QD socket here, and I also have one in the stock. And how I run the sling is I will put the front swivel in this, I will put the sling on, and then it comes over my shoulder and it clips into the QD socket in the stock, and that allows it to hang where it should. It allows me to transition shoulders if I were to need to, and it just allows me to retain the gun and present the gun as I need to. So that's how I run a 2-point sling. So you need to have a sling, you need to have a way to attach that. On some of the basic furniture guns out there, they don't have a QD socket in the stock, so you might have to look at either an adapter or a loop adapter or an end plate or something. And likewise, if you have just a basic handguard up front, you may have to look at an adapter or hardware on how to add a sling or a loop or a QD socket, whatever it might be. So that is something you do have to think about, is how to add a sling to the gun. I also talked about white lights. This particular one is just, it's an LZ. I can't remember the exact model number, but it's not the brightest one out there, but it works pretty good, and it's lightweight for this type of a gun. This is an SBR, so this is kind of my, I don't want to say close quarter gun or whatever, but that's kind of what this gun is geared towards. And the light doesn't need to be as bright or has much throw. However, despite what the internet says, I've never been in a situation where I've gone, man, this light is too bright. Now I'm not shining it on a white wall and reflecting it to my face. I just don't do that. I realize the scenario is there, but I try to use light discipline when I can, or simply if you go inside of a building, turn on the lights. But that's a whole other topic again. So a good quality white light, and then optics. This guy has a red dot, and then backing up that red dot is a set of iron sights. Now it has to be a system, because if the battery were to go dead or if somehow the optic were to break or whatever, I want to have a set of backup sights in case something happens here as a backup, hence the name backup sights. So what would you choose? Red dot versus a low power variable optic like on this gun here, which we'll talk about in a little more detail. The old saying, the mission drives the gear. Well, generally I have kind of come to appreciate the low power variable optic more and more. I don't want to say I was an early adopter, but I've been running a LPVO on my patrol rifle for at least close to a decade, if not a decade. I got the TR-24 just about when it first came out, and then I gained a lot of experience using a low power variable optic from 3-gun and things like that, and I kind of saw its benefits. A red dot can be very effective out to 300-400 yards. In fact, in our classes, we have students shoot man-sized steel 300-400 yards, depending on the range, with their red dot, and they make hits. The downside with having just a red dot is at that distance, it's tougher to identify your target. Does that person have a gun? Do they not? Are they friendly? Are they foe? So target identification is a little bit tougher with no magnification, but you're still able to make good hits. And a red dot, in my opinion, is so much substantial upgrade over iron sights alone that a red dot is kind of the bare minimum. It's kind of the new standard, if you will, for patrol rifles, combat rifles, whatever you want to call it. So having a red dot, in my opinion, is a must, having iron sights to back it up. You don't have to spend a ton of money on iron sights. Even the Magpul polymer ones work just fine. These happen to be the Magpul M-Bus Pro. They're a really nice set of sights. They're lightweight, they're strong. So that is kind of the core of the rifle. You need to have a light sights system and a sling. Other stuff that is nice to have. I like to upgrade the furniture on my gun. So the stocks, I'm a big fan of Magpul stocks. This is the MO-SL. It has the QD socket built in. It's comfortable. It locks up solid. It's just a good stock. It fits in the squad rack mounts of the cup style. So I have no issues with upgrading a stock to a good quality stock like this. Same thing with my grip. I personally prefer the more vertical grip. This is the Magpul K2, and I just like it for more of the modern shooting stances. You know, we're not doing a traditional marksmanship stance where having that angle gives us really any advantage. So I like having a more vertical grip for the modern shooter, and I just find the Magpul K2 very comfortable. Another upgrade that I make to a lot of my rifles, if not all, is a winter trigger guard or some sort of an oversized trigger guard. I work in Minnesota, so having gloves does make a difference for me, and then it also is just a little bit more comfortable. Triggers, ambi safeties, stick with a good quality duty trigger. Geisley, Hyperfire, EDT, the ALG, QMS. You know, there's maybe a couple other ones out there too, but stick with a good quality trigger that has a weight that's realistic for your reality. You don't want to run a super lightweight 3-gun trigger on your duty patrol rifle. Your policy may prevent it. It may not just be the best choice for the job. I like running an ambi safety, just kind of a personal preference thing. I also run an extended and enhanced charging handle. I like the Bravo company, the Voltor charging handles. They give me a lot of purchase to manipulate the charging handle. I do the gas buster mod, which I've made a video on because I shoot suppressed. When it comes to the handguard, there are great options on the market. I prefer free floating rails. Keymod, M-LOK, I'm slowly switching everything over to M-LOK. I do think it is the better platform. However, this is a Keymod version. You know, I think M-LOK is the future. If you're asking me, I think it's more sturdy. It's been proven in tests, things like that. If you have Keymod, is that bad? No, absolutely not. You know, I'm not in any hurry to swap this one out. And despite what the internet says, this has not killed me yet. So, but if I was going forward, I'm generally buying pretty much everything in M-LOK configuration. But what I like about having a free float rail is it gives me the option to add grips very easily, add lights, slings, things like that. Whereas on the traditional handguard, I don't have that option. Even some of the aftermarket polymer handguards you do, but they're just not quite as sturdy. And on top of that, generally the rifle accuracy will not deteriorate because nothing is touching the barrel. So even if you were pulling really tight on the sling, you could have some shift with some extreme setups. But I generally like running the rail. I can run it all the way out to the end of the barrel. I don't have to worry about having it at the front sight post like on a traditional M4 carbine with that fixed front sight. So I can put accessories where I want to put them, not where I'm limited to put them. And then all the way up front, muzzle device. Nothing wrong with the A2. I prefer muzzle devices that are specific to the suppressor platform that I run. So this one's a flash hider. On that one, it's a compensator. But nonetheless, we are going to run a muzzle device that either you can mount your suppressor to, or if you don't have the money to spend on a muzzle device, an A2 works just fine. So that's kind of a quick soup to nuts overview of the rifle of this one. And this could very easily be a 16-inch gun with a mid-length gas system. So it doesn't have to be an SBR. It just so happens this one is an SBR. So let's take a look at my other gun, which is a 16-inch mid-length gas system gun. And this is my general purpose patrol rifle, everything rifle, whatever. Similar stock, Magpul. I have a charging handle, the grip, the trigger, and this one is a Geisley, but ambi safety. You know, very, very similar gun, except for I have a low power variable optic. So this one is a 1:4. What I like about having a low power variable optic is on 1X, it gives me the speed and easy target acquisition of a red dot, but then for those situations where I may have a little distance, I want some target identification, or quite frankly, I just want my target easier to see, I can increase the magnification. Now, since this model has come out, there's been a lot of models on the market to really take the LPVO market by storm. There's some great 1:6s, 1:5s, 1:4s with better reticles, illumination, so there's some really good options out there. But overall, I like having some magnification because again, it just makes my target easier to see, which hopefully makes it easier to hit. Another point that is different on this rifle is the backup sights. These are offset sights. They're the Magpul Pro offset, and the only reason I got this is that in case the optic were to become broken or obstructed or weather caused an issue, I don't have to take the whole mount off to manipulate the iron sights. I could just flip them up and then just rotate and use my backup iron sights versus taking the quick release mount off and then having a traditional set of flip ups. So if you're running the magnified optic, I think this is a better option. However, lasers and other aiming devices could be another sight option for you as well. So don't be afraid to consider that if the budget allows it. But likewise, it's set up very similar, except for this light is a little different. This is the Streamlight ProTac, and honestly, bang for the buck, guys, this is probably the best light on the market. And even the new version, I think it's called the HL, is like $20 or $30 more. I have one of those on a different rifle. They're bright, they're durable, they take any mount for a scout mount that has the same footprint. So I'm using the Arisaka scout mount. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but honestly, bang for the buck, these are my go-to lights. You can find them for amazing deals online. Awesome light. And the only other difference that we talked about was the muzzle device. This is a comp versus the flash hider, but again, this also mounts my suppressor platform. So I hope that answered your question and maybe other people that are interested in it. Again, I thought it was just a good topic to kind of go over, and I get asked a fair amount about how I have my guns set up at class, so this video can maybe serve that purpose too. If you have any questions, please leave a comment in the section below. We look forward to seeing you in future videos. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and have a great day.